The Undercountry Music News is an excerpt of the weekly internet broadcast Undercountry Music, which features music from great country artists you won't hear on mainstream radio, as well as a roundup of the most interesting country music news of the week without all the fluff. This program you're listening to right now contains only the news portion of the show. To listen and subscribe to the full weekly episode containing the music and interviews, please visit undercountry.com or simply subscribe to the Undercountry Music Podcast on iTunes. This week, I'm hanging out with Americana and alt country artist Jiggley Jones. Let's get into it.
You know,
you're making the kind of news that bolsters your career.
Right.
Okay.
Sure. And
well, I'd like to alter that
on your own.
I would like to alter that tide at this point here.
Okay.
Because it's time for the Undercountry Music News. Very nice. Jiggly, we've been talking about you making the kind of news that helps your career. Well, the Undercountry Music News is specifically designed to destroy the careers of the people who co-host on Undercountry Music. Let me explain.
Like
yeah, okay. Well, the Undercountry Music News is a little experiment I've had going on for a little over a year now, where I go to the search engine Google and I type in the three little words country music news, and I do a search, and whatever websites come up on the front page of Google, I figure that's got to be the best in country music news. That has to just drill right down and get you there to all the news you could ever want or hope for. I mean, you'd think that, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, you know, you got your CMT, your GAC, Nashville Gab, The Boot, Country Weekly, and all that stuff always shows up on the front. Now, I've noticed when I started the news segment of this show, that a lot of times I go on to these websites and they're supposed to be reporting the news, but they're reporting a bunch of hoo-ha, kablooey, phooey, bluey. Which means, let's say, did Casey Musgraves really dye her hair this week? You know, and stuff like that. Or they've got Taylor Swift's new haircut at the top of every news roll, and you know, and just junk like that. You know, I don't personally call that country music news. I don't know if you do or not.
Maybe their specific artists, PR people were involved in getting that out there.
I would imagine.
But yeah, it's not news. It's not news.
Yeah. So anyway, well, what I do is I go onto these websites, and unfortunately, I have to claw my way through several stories like the ones I just explained there in order to find the one or two actual news stories. And then from all of those sites, I compile the real news stories, and I bring them to the listeners of Undercountry Music. Now here's where it gets dangerous. When I go onto a website and they are not doing their jobs and they are not reporting the news and it's just a bunch of garbage, I pick one unlucky recipient every single week. Well, not every single week. Sometimes they all do. I am always able to find at least one nugget sometimes. But usually most weeks, if there's a website that is just absolutely has nothing but fluff, I reward them with the Undercountry Music News Wet Belch of the week. And I had
belch or?
Oh yeah. I had a spinach and mushroom quesadilla with French onion soup today for lunch. So with that in mind, you probably ought to get a real good whiff up there in Pennsylvania, because I understand that cold weather makes the smell of spinach and mushroom quesadilla and French onion soup travel across continents.
I can like some French onion soup, that's for sure.
Right about this time, you're sort of not very happy with the MTS management group, huh?
No, not at all. I'm
okay.
angry.
Well, then let's get into it here. Over at CMT, rapper Buck22 and Billy Ray Cyrus do a rap version of Achy Breaky Heart. Have you seen the video for this?
I saw that.
You did?
I saw as much as I could take.
As much as you
There are
could
some pretty
takey,
good-
breaky heart.
Yeah, there was some pretty good-looking girls on there, though, but, it was, I think me and my wife were looking at it, so it lasted a good 15, 20 seconds.
Now I gotta say, the one good thing I can say about that video is Billy Ray Cyrus actually looks cool for the first time I can ever remember him in his career. He's actually got he's rocking a pretty darn cool look there.
I agree. I never knew he was left-handed, too. I noticed that he's playing the guitar left-handed. I never knew that.
I think he played it right-handed too.
He's ambidextrous.
Yeah, I don't think I think he's one of those guys that doesn't really play. He just throws it on. And if you notice, he was carrying an acoustic guitar case, and then when he broke out the guitar, it was a Gibson SG, which was one of the slimmest guitars.
Yeah, and it looked cool too. It was a white one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Now, I never realized Billy Ray Cyrus was so tatted up. He had a bunch of tattoos going on, right?
Maybe that just happened, within the last 10 years when he was out of the public eye, where he got all those.
Could have been. Now, I thought Billy Ray Cyrus was a Christian, because I have a producer friend. Actually, my producer friend is actually no longer amongst the living. He passed away about 2 years ago, unfortunately. But I was hanging out in his studio in Los Angeles, and he had told me that he was producing some things for Billy Ray Cyrus, and that Billy Ray had asked him to pray with him before a recording session. And now, after seeing this video the girls are almost naked, and there's like a part where they go down a hallway and they're all twerking. They've all got naked butts. I mean, it's just wall to wall ass in that video. I don't know how he squares those two worlds, but that's between Billy Ray and the Almighty, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you wonder how much input he had on all that. Maybe it was the rappers.
Well, he made a decision to be in the video.
Yeah, they didn't tell him what it was going to be like. He just showed up, and that's what happened.
Well, they said, "Oh, we just want you to sit there and mouth achy breaky heart here and there, and we'll do the rest." But I got to imagine that he knows, he knows what he's participating in, and he makes his decisions accordingly, I would think.
Yeah, the industry's sort of tough to figure out sometimes, The same thing with his daughter and what happened in that award show or wherever she went nuts in. That was pretty risque, too.
Yeah, I got to tell you, her record shot right to the top, and her career stayed there ever since that happened, though.
There you go. That's exactly that was my point. I'm sure it was all planned to create controversy, So maybe that's what he's trying to do here with what he's doing.
Yeah, well, they wanted Hannah Montana to be buried 19 feet under, and they accomplished that. And I think Billy Ray Cyrus is trying to bury his mullet even farther. But I got to tell you, this song, though, it's generating a whole lot of attention. But quite honestly, the song sucked back in the 90s. It still sucks today, worse as a rap tune. And this was the absolutely worst video that I could not stop watching.
That's the whole point, I guess, huh? Well, is it the rap guy's song where he samples Achy Breaky Heart in it, and Billy's just like a guest, making a guest appearance? Is that what it is? I mean, I didn't watch enough of it. It's not Billy Ray Cyrus's re-release with this rap guy as the guest, right?
No, actually, the only thing is just the Achy Breaky Heart chorus hook in it. And I've never heard of Buck 22 before.
Yeah, well, I guess you do. You did now, huh?
Yeah. Well, anyway, let's move it right along here.
Okay.
Over at CountryWeekly.com, Willie Nelson and Alison Krauss announce a co-headlining tour. Hello? There?
Okay, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
You waiting for my comment on that?
I am. Jump right in there. I would love to know. I've got some. I've got some thoughts. Willie Nelson and Alison Krauss co-headlining.
I got no problem with that. I think that's cool. I mean, Are you talking about the fact that they're both headlining, and how do you do that kind of thing, or the fact that they're not sort of the same kind of music, or what?
Well, here's the reason I'm kind of raising an eyebrow about this, okay?
Okay.
Throw a Willie Nelson concert on the east side of town, and throw an Alison Krauss concert on the west side of town. Which concert do you think is going to have the larger attendance?
I would say Willie Nelson.
By about how much would you probably guess Willie Nelson's concert would out attend Alison Krauss's?
It would draw definitely a different clientele, that's for sure.
No, I get that. I totally get that. But where I'm going with this is normally...
So she should be opening for him, basically.
Well, yeah, I'm not bagging on Alison Krauss here. What I'm saying is I don't see how that's a co-headlining tour when one of the artists is obviously an icon, a legend, and probably draws about 4 times the audience of the other one. I don't get how that's a co-headline thing. Now, I know she did the same thing with Robert Plant. She went out and toured with Robert Plant, and
yeah, right.
And they were kind of a duo. But so that was the only place. It's not a bag on Alison Krauss. She's an amazing artist, by the way. Nothing to take away from her. So,
well, maybe once again the industry's involved. Are they on the same record label? Those two? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure, but I'm not sure that Alison Krauss could handle Willie's secondhand smoke.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm sure they got separate dressing rooms.
I'm not so sure about that. You never know.
Maybe they're just whoever's putting this together is just trying to boost Alison Krauss's fan base or something like that, and maybe Willie's a big fan of hers or something.
You know what? I think you probably nailed it on the head. Willie probably, he's at that age where he's probably not around a whole lot longer, and perhaps he's just a huge Alison Krauss fan. Maybe he feels like she's a very underrated artist, and he wants to do everything he can to help bring her up to where he feels that she deserves to be.
Yeah, and I'll bet you somewhere in those shows they both come onto each other's stage and sit in with each other.
I would imagine.
Whether it be his show or whether it be her show, I'll bet you he's sitting in on her set and she's doing the same with him.
And I would bet you that it'll also bring a whole lot of people out to a Willie Nelson concert that normally would not go to a Willie Nelson concert.
Right, and maybe vice versa.
Yeah. Probably not all bad. So anyway, now that's the only thing I was saying there. Okay, let's move right along here. GAC, Great American Country. Now, this place would be a ringer for the Undercountry Wet Belch of the Week every damn week if it were not for the fact that every single week they post a new installment of Krystal Keith in the Kitchen with some awesome-ass recipe that everyone's just got to try. And that is the only thing that saves them every single week from that wet belch. This week, Krystal Keith is making spinach, bacon, and ricotta stuffed chicken.
Who's Krystal Keith, by the way? Is that Keith somebody that we know?
That is Toby Keith's daughter.
Oh, okay. So it is somebody we know.
Yeah, I mean, cool. She's had some awesome recipes up there, like baked French toast. That's like her big claim to fame is her recipes. So Krystal Keith in the Kitchen is like, that is the thing that you go over to GAC every single week for, and it makes it worth trudging through all the garbage Taylor Swift haircut stories and, so.
Well, they do have sometimes they play videos, so I'll switch over from CMT over to GAC once in a while when they're having like the top 12 videos or something like that.
Oh yeah, and I'm talking about the news page. This isn't about the entities as a whole. This is just specifically about their duties as a country music news reporting, platform.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right. Well, over at NashvilleGab.com this week, Blake Shelton and Shakira are teaming up on a song. I have no idea why. I think they both judge on The Voice together.
Yep, that makes sense. So one day they said, you know what? Hey, we should do a song together.
You a big Shakira fan?
Not necessarily. I think she's really easy on the eyes. I mean, I'm not real into that kind of music.
Yeah, I think she's a really talented. I think she's a good guitarist. From what I've heard, she's actually a really good guitarist. Which not a lot of front people are good instrumentalists these days. No matter what, they're usually just. Right. But apparently she's a very multi-talented instrumentalist. I mean, I'm not that into her stuff, but I believe it because her hips don't lie.
She's probably a flamenco guitarist, I imagine. She's from what, Colombia? I guess she's from.
I think it's flamenco.
Flamenco?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's okay.
Did not know that either.
you know who else is an amazing flamenco guitarist? Is darn it. Who is it? Jaja? No, not Jaja Gabor. What am I talking about?
I know you mean Charo.
Charo, yes, Charo.
Yeah, right.
She's crazy balls on the guitar.
I've seen that. Anyway, I think back to Blake. Miranda might be a little jealous on that one. That's my guess.
It could be. Well, maybe she needs to learn how to sing in Spanish. Over at Taste of Country, the Taste of Country reporter, Billy Dukes, makes a case for the country artists who have chosen to not abandon their concerts at SeaWorld, even after SeaWorld is claimed to have treated fish badly via an obscure documentary called Blackfish that nobody has really ever seen.
Nobody but the government, right?
Yeah, I mean, have you heard about this whole SeaWorld controversy thing?
Somewhat. I mean, I didn't, delve deep into it, but yeah, I did, and people were boycotting it. So what's going on? Somebody's saying that there are certain acts that aren't going to boycott it?
Yeah, well, apparently a bunch of acts canceled. I know Joan Jett canceled her concerts at SeaWorld, and and a bunch of other acts also canceled. I can't give you the laundry list of who all pulled out, but it was a lot. Probably about half of the concerts at SeaWorld have canceled because there's this podunk poop stain documentary out there that you can only get on Netflix or something like that, and it's called Blackfish. And I'm not saying that what they're saying isn't true, but it's a documentary and about how SeaWorld treats their animals bad. And in it, apparently it was a really, really horrible and really, got a whole lot of people protesting anyone who goes and contributes to SeaWorld, and some artists, decided that it'd be best to pull their concerts.
I'm surprised when you said Joan Jett. She seems like the type that would bite the head off of a killer whale in her concert or something. She's always the aggressive type. But I guess she's an animal lover.
Yeah, well, it happens. Human hater, animal lover. You never know.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. But anyway, so this video report over there goes, basically the case is that the country artists who have chosen, basically they've done so on the grounds that, he's making the case why people shouldn't be mad at them because they have made a commitment to perform those concerts. They're not really involved in the politics or whatever, and they're not going to have a knee-jerk reaction based on some documentary somebody put out somewhere that, that they've probably never watched or heard of before. because a couple animal rights activists got a burr under their saddle. So now we're not saying SeaWorld doesn't treat their animals badly. I don't know that or whatever. Just
I imagine that every place, including every zoo in the world, if they did a documentary and they got inside there with some secret cameras and stuff, you'd find some kind of animal cruelty. I mean, just the fact that they're in cages and all that stuff. So, it just, they singled out SeaWorld, probably just became like a snowball effect, and maybe, people should realize that it happens in other places besides just SeaWorld.
Yeah, now I personally don't really care for SeaWorld, and I don't really ever want to give SeaWorld another dollar of my money again. But the reason why I don't like SeaWorld has nothing to do with this. If you remember a few years back, an orca grabbed a trainer and then killed the trainer, dragged her down to the bottom. Now, they think it's because the trainer had a little ponytail on her head that would kind of flop around as if she were holding a fish up to feed the orca. So that's what they think happened. The orca saw that little ponytail about the size of the treat fish that they give him. The orca jumped up to get that little fish and instead bit off the trainer's head. And
wow.
Now that's not the reason that I don't really care for SeaWorld. Now the reason I don't care for SeaWorld is because when SeaWorld went and filmed their official statement, apologizing, they're looking into the matter and making the adjustments they need, blah, 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 which is, of course, something they need to do. They did it in front of an underwater viewing window for the orcas. So while they were doing it, there were a bunch of orcas swimming right behind him while the spokesperson did it. So what I'm saying is that they turned the death of this trainer into an opportunity to market SeaWorld, and that left such an amazingly bad taste in my mouth that, quite honestly, I can't imagine myself ever parting with another dollar towards that again, because that I was really shocked to see that.
Right. I guess they were trying to portray that the killer whales aren't that dangerous. Here they are behind this guy, and they're not bouncing off the glass trying to get him. So,
But insensitive to the family at best. At worst, Mark is using the death of that lady as a chance to market themselves, and I just thought it was it was unthinkable to me. But anyway,
I got you on that.
I'm ready to get off my soapbox here. Let's move on to theboot.com. Chris Young celebrates Singles Awareness Week.
Like single people?
That would be Valentine's week. Couples get a day, Valentine's Day, and all the activists decided to take whatever week Valentine's Day is, and call it Singles Awareness Week. So all the people who get depressed watching all these couples enjoy each other and have a special day for people who care about each other. Apparently, for all the people who that irritates, they decided to make a whole week for them.
That's just so familiar. That kind of mindset.
Do the equality police really need? I'm not big on hot button issues, but do the equality police really need to get into absolutely everything?
I would think that I don't want to cause any stir here, but I would think that's more of a female kind of thing. Like they don't have a man for. Some of them don't have a man for Valentine's Day, so their feelings are hurt, and this makes them feel better. I don't think a man is that upset about being single on Valentine's Day. Because in my opinion, it's more of a female day anyway. You buy them the chocolate and the roses, and everybody's happy.
Yeah. It's kind of like when the mafia comes to your door and go, You know you got a nice place here. It'd be terrible if something happened to it. For the price of just a couple of Hallmark cards and some chocolates, we can make sure that your house stays nice and intact. That your love life goes on, without any, shall I say, complications. And we'd like to provide that security for you, if you know what I mean.
So, once a week, we'll stop by for a payment.
Right.
So, do you agree that Valentine's Day is more for the ladies than for the men?
It's for the men to try and stay out of trouble.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go along with you on that one.
Okay. Which, it's no big... I have no problem with, That's their thing, so...
Hey, whatever.
Us guys, we don't have any idea where they're coming from. We try, but...
I know. Well, for Valentine's this year, my wife and I, we went over to Cathay Asian Bistro in Murfreesboro, and that was a whole lot of fun. We just really had a great time over there.
Cool.
All right, for those of you who don't know, this show is obviously pre-recorded, so you're listening to it after Valentine's Day. So by the time you hear this, we will have already gone to Cathay Asian Bistro, and it was delicious. I think it has been delicious.
Well, this will be the part that you edit out. So.
Yeah, whatever. All right, over at the 615, which is a subsection of Billboard.com, dedicated to the Nashville music scene and country music. And 615 is the area code for the Nashville area, by the way, for those of you who don't know. Merle Haggard has been added as the headliner to a big, big concert. And I'm just wondering how he got this gig, came onto it late, and got the headlining slot. I do not know. The concert's called Merle Fest.
Well, heck. That sort of sums it up, doesn't it?
That's great. Well, when you hold your own festival, I guess you can boot off whoever you had originally scheduled as the headliner. Just take it over.
Who's second in line then? Who becomes second in line now that he's first?
I have no idea, but my guess is that if they had an agreement, they're probably getting paid exactly the same as they were before, though.
Right.
They just end their night a little earlier.
They weren't big enough, so they weren't drawing enough attention to it. Like it wasn't somebody that was a real big name, just sort of mid-level names and stuff.
Well, this is really good, though, because Merle Haggard hasn't been able to play Merle Fest for the past couple of years because of his health problems, and now he's recuperated enough to where he can go out and do concerts again, which is really, really good news.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, good news. I bring good news here on the Undercountry Music News. All right. Guess what? We have a newcomer to the Undercountry Music News Roll. What a great way to kick off the third year of Undercountry Music, wouldn't you say?
Sure. That's fresh.
A new website showing up on the first page of Google under the search term Country Music News is NashvilleCountryClub.com. Wow. All right.
So you have to be a club member on that one?
No, you have to embrace the Undercountry Music News Wet Belch of the Week. Now, how bad do you have to be when in your debut, you get the Wet Belch of the Week? You'd think if you were fresh, you'd have some good stuff to bring. And I'll explain why I gave them the Wet Belch here in just a second here. All right. I went there, and the content itself wasn't really so bad, although it was completely uninteresting. Now that's not why I gave them the belch. I gave them the belch, NashvilleCountryClub.com, because they have a main banner going, at the top of it. A lot of websites will have this banner where they have their story, and then it'll carousel over one way and you'll see the next story and you can click on it and go to the story, but it's like this moving carousel of stories at the top. That's pretty standard. That's not so bad. I mean, it's kind of hard to look at, but then right below it, they have another banner of more stories that goes the complete opposite direction, and it is absolutely impossible to look at because you've got two carousels going in opposite directions, and it's just like you can't even look at it. You'll lose your freaking mind. I mean, Marty Feldman couldn't hang on this website for more than 5 seconds. You know what it's like. Have you been in those fast food restaurants where now they have like the big animated menus up there? That's no longer the old-fashioned printed menus. Now it's like, you've got these crazy animations and visuals, and the menus are like changing right in front of you as you look at them. I don't know how much you fast food over there, Jiggley.
Once in a while. It is confusing to walk into a new fast food restaurant and try to figure out what to get, that's for sure. Because you got all these options, all these different things, and they're just coming from all different angles.
Yeah, and you look up, and you're looking at something, you're going, okay, and then you're trying to figure out what you want, and then you look back at that same place, and then it's changed, and you don't know where it went, and you're trying to make your decision, but it like disappeared for like a few seconds, and it comes back, or it jumps over to another screen, and you're like sitting here with your head spinning around, trying to figure out, how much a 4-pack of nuggets costs.
And all of a sudden, you just yell out in out of nowhere, pizza.
Yeah,
I'll take pizza.
That is the point where you just tell them what you want and hope they have it.
Yeah, right. And they get mad at you because everybody does that, right?
That's right. So every time I walk into Arby's now, I give them the Undercountry Music News Wet Belch of the Week. And this has been your Undercountry Music News. Thank you for listening to the Undercountry Music News. The Undercountry Music News is just a small excerpt of the weekly hour-long internet broadcast Undercountry Music, where I, Neil Smith, not only round up the week in country music news and put my own spin on it, but I also play music and have great interviews by lesser-known original country acts, the kind that you won't hear on mainstream country radio. If you're thirsting for that, get on over to undercountry.com where you can listen and subscribe. You can also subscribe via iTunes to Undercountry Music. Thanks so much. Stay under, stay country.